But as I said, we need them to do more.
So that is Mark Morgan, acting head of Customs and Border Protection, crediting Mexico and President Trump's crackdown for positive results at the border. There were nearly 50,700 arrests on the border last month, a 53% drop in apprehensions going back to June. Ron Vitiello is former acting deputy commissioner in Customs Border Protection and a former acting director of ICE. A lot of formers there, sir. How you doing? And nice to see you again, and welcome back here. Morgan said also Mexico needs to do more. Like what?
Well, they need to sustain their efforts. You really have a big change going on at the border. But let's not forget they had 930,000 arrests so far this year. So you got to hand it to the men and women at CBP and ICE, that front line, and their families, because they've been through a hell of a year. 930,000 apprehensions, overcrowding at these bookend stations, not enough detention space. So they've been through quite a bit this year. So it's good for this to see this declination in activity, but there's still a lot to do.
What Mexico did, they put 15,000 troops on its northern border with us and 10,000 on its southern border with Guatemala and Central America. Is that enough?
It has to be sustained. This is an unprecedented act by Mexico. I was in government for many years. We asked them to do a lot. We do a lot of partnership with them. But this president made them move in a way that we've never seen before. So they need to sustain those efforts at their southern border, in the interior of their country, and then what they're doing on the northern border, trying to prevent these large groups from crossing all at one time.
So the weather goes from mild to hot in the Southwest this time of year. How much does that have to do with the drop here in the numbers, sir?
It makes a difference. There's also a seasonal decline coming. We're going toward the holidays, so you'll see, a little bit less pressure on the border. But the framework, the legal loopholes that still exist in the law need to be shored up. It's time for Congress to act now. They can prevent these caravans. They can prevent this crisis from occurring again this year.
Let me take you back to last night, North Carolina. The president brought it up a couple times. Here is his comment about sanctuary cities, specifically the Golden State of California.
It's crazy what's happening. This whole thing with sanctuary cities, and you go to California, which is so many sanctuary cities, they don't know what's happening out there. You have people that want to get rid of those sanctuary cities. They just aren't able to do it with the people that get elected.
When we hear him speak, and he's gone back to this topic a lot, he thinks this is a winner for him come 2020. What is your sense on that?
Well, I agree that this sanctuary cities is a bad idea. Protecting criminals who are in the country illegally and allowing them to commit more crimes by not cooperating with ICE upon their release from custody is a bad idea. It's bad for the citizens, it's bad for California, and it's bad for the homeland.
All right. There was a letter that was sent on behalf of several Democrats. They're wondering why flu vaccinations are not given to illegals detained at the border. Can you address that and give us an answer?
Yeah, they have to decide. Do they want people in custody longer, or do they want them moved into the next appropriate setting? And so flu shots at the border in bookend stations is not a good idea. We should be working to get people out of CBP custody as quickly as possible.
So that answer is, that's just a question of time then? You want to get them through the system itself?
Right. If they're going to be detained long term, they'll get medical care in the facility that ICE puts them in. At the Border Patrol station, that's not an appropriate place. They have to have medical care. They need to be taken to the hospital if they're sick, but it's not a place to get a medical checkup
because
or
the concern
vaccine.
is they get the flu and they get sicker and then you're dealing with a lot more at that point then. Your response on that?
Well, if they're going to remain in custody, then they'll get the appropriate medical care that they need. But at the Border Patrol station or at the port of entry, that's not a place for them to get medical care.
Ron Vitiello, thank you, sir, for your time. 62% drop. It's a story that's dropped out of the headlines for a reason. We'll see when it comes back. Thank you, sir, for your time, okay, in Washington, D.C.